creation, direct our noble cause, guide our leaders right, help our youth the truth to know, in love and honesty to grow, and living just and true, great lofty heights attain, to build a nation where peace.
The Honorable Rec considers it pleasurable and honorable to be invited to address this August gathering on the very topical issue of duties of security stakeholders in relation to the electoral process. He goes on by saying that the conduct of free, fair, and credible election is the core mandate of INEC. I also say that the Commission is the organization on whose shoulders rests the largest responsibility of nurturing, sustaining, and continuously deepening electoral norms and democratic values in Nigeria. The Election Management Body, EMB, which is also INEC, has therefore become the gatekeeper of the process of democracy and democratization in Nigeria, as its composition, mandate, and activities have attracted increased public and international attention. INEC and the rules of the electoral game are the focus of passionate interest, debate, and speculation each time elections come around. Indeed, electoral competition has progressively come to occupy a central place in the political life of the country since 1999. As you will see in Anambra and the rest of Nigeria now, what is trending is the Saturday election. That's the way it always is. Whenever we are going to have elections in Nigeria nowadays, people find it difficult focusing on other issues apart from the elections that are at hand. So, continue this lecture. The specific duties of security stakeholders in fostering security during election, the Commission strove to build a strong collaboration for election security. In an election, which is a multi-sectoral project, INEC usually engages individuals, groups, and organizations that have interest or stake in the election. These critical stakeholders have different and crucial roles to play in an election. And for the purpose of this meeting, the Honorable Rec will limit himself, though I'm the one representing him, to the duties of security stakeholders in the electoral process. Who are even these security stakeholders? In our own definition, we say that a security stakeholder will include that person providing security and that person requiring security. So what I'm trying to say, what we are trying to say here is it's just that it is not only security officers or security operatives that are security stakeholders. Those of us that are civilians, we are also stakeholders in this thing that we call security, because we require security in the conduct of our functions. So, but what do we also mean by electoral process? Because our topic is specific duties of security stakeholders in relation to the electoral process. So when we talk about electoral process, we are not just talking about election alone, but we refer also to activities that are undertaken before, during, and after each election, such as political party campaigns, party primaries, continuous voter registration exercise that is going on, election day events itself, like we are going to have on Saturday, November 6th, and issues that will follow the conduct of the election, like retrieval of election materials and election litigation. So, in early this lecture, We've also considered the legal framework for security during election. The provision of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria provides in Section 14, subsection 1, that the Federal Republic of Nigeria shall be a state based on the principles of democracy and social justice. It similarly provides in subsection 2, paragraph B, that the security and welfare of the people shall be primary purpose of the government. And paragraph C states that the participation of the people, or the participation by the people in their government shall be ensured in accordance with the provision of this Constitution. The above provisions show that there's a link between security and the electoral process. The Nigerian Police Force is the primary body saddled with the protection of the lives and property of the citizens. The Constitution, again in section 214, subsection 1, establishes the Nigerian Police Force and provides for its organization and administration in accordance with the provisions as prescribed by an act of the National Assembly. And this gave rise to the current Police Act of 2020. It provides also that members of the Nigerian Police Force shall have such powers and duties as may be conferred upon them by law. However, it is without doubt that the issues of security cannot be left to the police alone. For instance, in Lagos, we currently have 13,325 polling units. And on the day of election, it is required that 3 policemen will man each polling unit. So if we now multiply 13,000 times 325 polling units by 3 policemen, what we'll be needing in Lagos State alone will be 39,975 policemen to officiate during a general election. Remember that during general elections that we are likely to have in 2023, it is not only in Lagos. In Lagos that elections will hold, it will hold simultaneously throughout Nigeria. So if Lagos alone now needs 39,975 policemen, and it's not only election matters that the police handles, how would they be able to supply that? I'm just illustrating the fact that the police alone cannot handle the issue of providing security. So, in essence, the duties of security stakeholders could be said to be in the functions of ISIS. And the functions of ISIS, again, are to coordinate the design of election security management system for INEC. ISIS is also to develop locally focused plans for providing security before, during, and after elections. ISIS should harmonize the training, development, and actions of security personnel on election duties. The body is also to address existing security threats across the country that have implications for elections and produce a red, amber, and green zone electoral security map for the country, which will be regularly updated. ISS is also required to advise INEC on rapid response to security threats around elections, including voter registration. ISS also has the function of ensuring a reduction in transportation costs of dealing with individual security agencies on issues of elections. INEC doesn't have an elastic budget when it comes to management of election. So if INEC starts interacting separately with all the security agencies, it may not be able to meet with the required cost of providing logistics for individual security agencies. But when they come together, a common budget is provided. ANEC is able to do this, manage this to an appreciable extent. Then, access is also expected to evaluate the performance of security agencies on election duties and recommend improvements and sanctions where necessary. What is being said here is that at the end of every poll, the committee, as I will sit down to look at the highs and lows of the elections. That is like a post-mortem is being conducted on the election that has just been conducted, so as to see areas of improvement. Because an election manager is only as good as his last successfully conducted election. So the fact that we did well in 2019 doesn't mean that we should go and rest. It means that it's the beginning of another work. And no stone should be left unturned in moving into the next level, which is 2023. So, furthermore, specific rules are given to security stakeholders as contained in a document that just came out last year, which is called Code of Conduct and Rules of Engagement for Security Personnel on Election Duty. The specific rules in this document are, number one, that is ensuring the safety and security of all persons and properties that will be involved before, during, and after the voting exercise without bias. That is, a security official, a security personnel is not expected to be partisan while managing election. Number two, there should be strict enforcement of the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Criminal Penal Code, as well as all electoral laws. You are the law enforcement agents. The commission, that is ANEC, doesn't have the capacity to even arrest anybody, not to talk of even implementing all the sanctions that are stated in the laws. So we always rely on all our security agencies to do this. Then another function is traffic and crowd management at venues of political parties, party primaries, convention, congresses, campaigns, rallies, and other activities relating to the election. Then, still on specific duties. In addition to the above mandate, general mandate, the function of security agents on election duty are also enshrined in INEC manual for election officials. The latest one is the one for 2020. So, in this manual, security operatives are expected to provide security again at the polling units. We are going down to the polling units now, polling units level. And collation centers by ensuring that the polling units, counting of ballots, collation and declaration of results are conducted without any disturbance. Again, security agents are to take necessary measures to prevent violence or any activity that can threaten or disrupt the election. Number three, at the polling units, security agents are to comply with any lawful directive issued by or under the authority of INEC. What's being stressed here is that our security agents are called upon to be at the polling unit to ensure a smooth conduct of the process. There should not be an impediment to the end to which they've been invited. So they are expected to comply. They are not above the rules. They are expected to comply with any lawful directives issued by or under the authority of INEC. Then another function is that our security agents are to ensure the safety and security of all election materials from Central Bank, because we usually collect the sensitive materials from Central Bank. The journey starts from there and to other areas, to the local government, then to the polling units. So by escorting and guarding such materials as appropriate, our security agents, again specifically, are also to protect election officials at the registration area centers. I believe many of us that have been involved in the conduct of elections recently will know what we mean by registration area centers. These are centers that are created by INEC to pave way for early arrival of men and materials at the polling units on election day. So it's a kind of stopgap measure that is on the eve of the election. All the personnel and materials required for the election, the polling units, will move to a designated area in a ward, in every ward. And that's where they will pass the night. During their time there, they may sleep if they find it convenient. But again, it's an opportunity to be retrained for the personnel, for the temporary personnel that will be used for the election. So by being there with the materials, they need security. They need to be protected. So that place is called racks. Like I said, we are only being reminded. Most of us are used to all this setup, the system. We are used to the system. So to protect election officials at the registration area centers, polling stations, collation centers, especially in the course of their movement from one point to the other until the process is completed. Security agents are also expected to arrest on the instruction of the presiding officer or any other INEC official, any person causing any disturbance or preventing the smooth conduct of proceedings. We said that they are expected to arrest any person causing any disturbance. Any person is any person. Whether the president of Nigeria, the state governor, is still any person causing disturbance. Sadly, oftentimes, the contributions of the security agencies in ensuring credible elections are overlooked. These people, your men, have in the time past had to pay the supreme price in preserving the sanctity of democracy in Nigeria. Let's appreciate ourselves. Let's clap for ourselves. Sorry. Because thank you very much, sir. So I can remember in 2019 in the Pokia local government area of Ogun State, during the conduct of the federal elections, the presidential and national assembly elections, a mobile police officer escorting results of election from that local government area was gunned down. He laid down his life. But despite that, his colleagues continued the journey until the final results were released. That's why I'm saying we quite appreciate the efforts of Nigerian security personnel in always making sure that we succeed anytime we have elections to conduct, despite the fact that many stakeholders often overlook your contribution, despite your playing vital roles. Most of our elections would have ended in disaster, which would have invariably resulted in compromising the stability that currently prevails in the country. We must note that a badly conducted election is a recipe for chaos, while a well-conducted election fosters peace and political stability, as there can be no peaceful or sustainable political transition and consequential economic and other benefits to citizens without credible and peaceful elections. It is REC's firm belief that through a transparent and inclusive electoral process, which the Commission is ready to provide in consonance, in collaboration with the professional dexterity of our security agencies, a solid foundation of ambience of peace can and will always be laid in our fatherland.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. James Oludele Popola. At this point, it's questions and answers.
My first question goes to you. Please, are we going to have all these seminars that are being given us, are we going to have the soft copy or otherwise?
In the course of your presentation, you said police is the leading security agent during the election. At the same time, you said it's only the INEC representative at the police center that will decide who are who to be arrested when a crime is committed at the police center. And according to the Police Acts, police is to protect life, detect crime, and prosecute an offender. My question now goes thus. If what you say is, can we now say this is what is making the electoral violence to continue? Because the no-security agents are just there. They cannot arrest anybody except the INEC representative direct. And if INEC representative pretend as if nothing happened, that means nothing happened. That's my question.
Good morning, sirs. My own question is two. The other one is almost related to the one that my guy has just asked. When what I would just add to it is that when they said that it is INEC officials that will give instructions, how formidable are INEC officials in terms of trade analysis? The second question is that how independent is the independence of the Independent National Electoral Commission?
Good morning. Please, my question goes thus. Is the INEC actually looking into electoral voting system? Because by introducing that, it will reduce the stress that security agencies are actually facing in course of election. Like you said during your election, your speech, that a mopo that was asked to guide electoral material was shot. If there is electoral voting, all this will not happen. Then secondly, the security agencies also have rights to vote. If voting is introduced, the security that are meant to be on field that day will also participate their franchise. Thank you very much.
My question is this. There was a case in point when I was in Ekiti. a situation whereby election was conducted in a place and all the security officers posted to that venue, none of them showed up, only one security officer. And with the election personnel, electoral officer. In that case, and a particular party is overwhelming the situations with a volatile talks, most times, and you discover that there's an interest in place, what do you think, as an electoral officer, what do you think what should be your counsel to the security officer, who hence is the one protecting you and the materials? And the security is the only person in that environment, and the people who were registered to vote are more than 1,000, and the environment is across the sea. What do you do in that situation? And what is your counsel to the only security officer there?
Sir, my name is Gabriel from Nigeria Police Force. In your lecture, you mentioned that one of the duties of the security agencies is to advise INEC. I want to use the Anambra election as a study now, as an example. In the forthcoming Anambra election, which is coming up on the 6th of November, on Saturday to be precise, INEC have stamped its feet to say that the election must hold. The election will hold constitutionally. The police, which is the lead agency, has vowed to provide security. In fact, has been on the ground, including other security agencies. All are on the ground to stabilize. But down there, within that region, the stakeholders, the community, the PAN leaders, Ohanes and the rest of them, have come out to advise that the election be postponed. And they are citing insecurity, the situation there, as their reason for such call. You give us an instance and an illustration in your lecture that at Ipokia local government of Ogun State, in one of the elections, a police officer was gunned down, which means he paid the supreme price for elections to take place. In other words, security agencies are sometimes targets of these hoodlums, touts, and miscreants during elections. Now, I want to ask, is it possible, sir, is it possible for INEC to postpone a scheduled election due to insecurity? And if it is possible, at what point can INEC go ahead to declare that a scheduled election be postponed? And in a situation like this very one coming up on Saturday, where INEC and the police and all the security agencies have vowed to go on with the election, and a body not saddled with security is advising on the contrary, what is the likely position of INEC if the tension heightens? Thank you.
I think that's what we did as we came here in the morning. The soft copy is at the secretariat, and it can be obtained from the secretariat. So the second question, okay, that the policeman or the security man at the polling unit will have to wait for the INEC official to issue an order before someone is arrested. I will respond to that by saying that in any given situation, there's always a system of hierarchy. As we are here now, somebody will be presiding over this gathering. So if there's nobody that is recognized as the leader of this gathering, there will be anarchy. So, because mainly election is supposed to be a civil matter, that is, if not because of the environment in which we are, whereby for an electoral administrator to succeed, the provision of security arrangements, solid security arrangements, is always the beginning of wisdom. If not because of the kind of stage in which we are still in Nigeria, we shouldn't even be needing to fortify the polling units before we can manage an election. We've been told of a neighboring country in Africa, whereby you can even give sensitive materials to the presiding officer a day or two before election. He will carry the sensitive materials to his house. He will sleep. And on the day of election, no security man will accompany him or her. But even as he's transporting the material to the polling unit, his vehicle can break down. And you can even abandon the vehicle there, go and look for the mechanic. He will still return to find material safe. But we don't have that kind of arrangement, that kind of belief in Nigeria. So that's why we still fortify our polling units, we fortify Central Bank, fortify our INEC offices when we want to conduct election. But we must still come to terms with the fact that we are doing this to foster democracy. So the person that will head the polling unit is the presiding officer. As I work as a security man, as I work with the governor of the state now, before I can arrest somebody, I must receive order from the governor. I cannot on my own abandon governor and be pursuing somebody that is trying to cause trouble. But if governor is saying, okay, go after that person, I go. The same thing is what the commission is trying to implement on the day of election at the polling unit. It's not as if the commission wants to condone electoral manipulation or violence. But somebody has to be in charge. And in the wisdom of the commission, it is the presiding officer that acts the polling unit. So it is stated in the law like that, in the manual like that. So I think we will still continue to handle it that way. Then another question is, how independent is INEC's independence? Your guess is as good as mine. At least to a great extent, nobody has been breathing down the neck of INEC in handling many of activities. All of us will see that in all INEC conducted elections, we have transparency, impartiality. We even have credibility of the process, in the sense that, okay, if not that, in 2015, I believe that episode is still fresh in our mind. Despite the pressure, did the commission still not go ahead to announce the winners of the election? So many state governors have lost their election. If INEC had been dancing to the dictates from whatever angle, this wouldn't have been possible. Maybe the ruling party would have been winning 100% every time election takes place. So that alone should tell us that INEC enjoys a measure of independence, great measure of independence. We may not be where we ought to be, but I believe with what we are seeing, people have more confidence in the elections that INEC conducts. That's why there's always the clamor that INEC should even handle the conduct of local government elections. I don't know whether I'm saying the truth or I'm saying what people are actually saying, though that one has not been possible. But if INEC has not been doing it the way people want, they will still not want to add to the present burden of managing federal and state elections that INEC conducts now. So that's the only way I can say, I can answer the question of INEC independence. Then e-voting system. Okay, INEC also shares in your thought. Though people have been saying, I know e-transmission, no. INEC has always been coming out at the risk of being criticized to say INEC is able. But this issue goes beyond INEC alone. We have statutes guiding the management of elections in Nigeria. And until those statutes are amended, INEC will still be, because INEC is not a law-making body. We implement whatever laws are promulgated. So, e-voting, as desirable as it is, we still need to be patient. And we still want us to look at it from this way, that whether manual voting, whether e-voting, everything still depends on the mindset of the citizens. You may be doing e-voting, and yet you may be planning every day to hijack or to manipulate the process. Somebody even told me the other day that in Germany, as we speak, that they still do manual voting. I don't know which is more advanced between Germany and Nigeria. That Germany is still bent on conducting the kind of election that we conduct here, not relying on electronic voting. But since we have all the high points for electronic voting, the Commission has been towing that line too. We have electronic register already, and the Commission is saying, and the National Assembly now has now even told the Commission that, okay, you can transmit election any way it wants. So we are good to go, but like I said, e-voting, the complete e-voting will still have to depend on when our lawmakers are ready to allow the Commission to do that. Somebody mentioned confusion at PU, where there are so many voters unable to cross. But all of us are crisis managers. In the game of election, you cannot predict what is going to happen the next moment. So when it now happens, all of us will put heads together. I can even see that in elections, some policemen have even become electoral officers. I was in a local government. I was in a local government in 2011 in Ekiti State. And when the lecturer, university lecturer, that was to do the collation, was finding it difficult to do the vertical and horizontal collation, it was the DPO that took the calculator. We must leave this place now. We must leave this place. So if you have a situation, a chaotic situation like that, there's nothing wrong by helping INEC personnel that are there. But in doing that, we must ensure that we are not biased, that we don't have ulterior motive in doing what we are doing.
Our next lecture will be delivered by an Assistant Inspector General of Police, AIG in charge of community policing, in person of AIG Bala Senchi, and he will be lecturing us on community policing as a veritable tool for crime prevention and crime and control. The AIG, sir.
Good morning. I want to ensure that we get what is necessary, a good understanding on community policing. Many of us do not understand the basic principles of what we are today running as community policing. But I want to say this: every police officer is a community policing officer. Don't think because some special constables are being recruited and then you will say that is their problem or wahala. No. Every police officer is a community policing officer. You have a role to play. The paper that I am about to deliver, I am sorry I don't have the slide, but I have made available some copies of my paper so that you will be able to photocopy. A small problem in Ogili in Delta State led to false and fake news spreading all over. Nobody died in that incident. The SARS men were not even involved. Completely, they were not there. They had no business in what happened. They don't know. But what do we have? Riots here and there. People's property was destroyed, especially here in Lagos. It was so pathetic. Somebody have worked very hard to get what he has earned for. But people will come overnight and damage and steal everything. Since the beginning of this year, however, budgetary releases have hampered our resolve to continue this sort of engagement that will have assisted in no small measure to foster the kind of understanding that is expected between the police and the general public. What I am saying here is that we have problem of releases. It's a common knowledge here that when community policing was adopted, Mr. President, in his wisdom, approved some money for the takeoff of community policing. Some level of some amount of money were released, but throughout this year, no releases have been done. We have scheduled so many things we wanted to do. We could have even come to you before now, but we cannot because of this problem of releases of funds. In the meantime, our assignment here today is fairly simple. Going by the assigned topic, it is my hope and expectation that in the spirit of community policing, all of us can together find a common ground at the end of the paper. The security situation of our country have not always been this way. It is therefore necessary that we look back and see what has gone wrong. Our society have grown so fast in population and other social dynamics without concomitant growth in social control mechanism that should have assisted in socializing our younger folks as well as moderate their exuberances from the very informal at family level to the more formal institutions that fall under the ambit of the state. In most cases, the social control mechanism had actually collapsed. It is pertinent that we take cognizance of how the informal and formal social control mechanism have always interact to check all forms of deviance behavior that may be inimical to the social stability of our communities. Indeed, crime control and prevention actually start from the home front and extend outwards and onward. The assumption is that the deviants or criminals live among us. They are no spirit. Here I want to see our communities as the industry, has the deviant behaviors, which is crime, has the products that comes from the communities. So if you produce something, you are better placed to explain and know how to control it. And therefore here, since our various communities produce the criminals, our various communities will be better placed to control it. So this is what I am saying in this place. My thesis here this morning is that the adoption of community policing has a policing strategy in our nation can indeed serve as a veritable tool for crime prevention and control when properly implemented, just as I explained. That thesis, the thesis is what I have explained. Duties of the police. I would have skipped this area on the duties of the police, but I feel it is important because there are new innovation on the new Police Act that has embedded into it, and I felt to touch it so that you will know what are the things that is expected of you. The Nigerian Police Force was established via Section 214 of the 1999 Constitution as amended of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Its duties were spelled out in Section 4 of the Police Act 2020. Section 4 of the new Police Act 2020 put it as follows: that the police force shall A, prevent and detect crimes and protect the rights and freedom of every person in Nigeria as provided in the Constitution, the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, and any other laws. If you listen very well, you see there are new innovations in it, new addition in it. That's why I take interest to bring it up. If not, I wouldn't have disturbed you on it because I know you already know your duties. The concept is built on 3 fundamental principles, which are, that is, community policing is built on these 3 fundamental principles: police-community partnership, problem solving, and organizational transformation. As we go on, if time permits us, we will see how these 3 come in community policing. According to Benet Manin and Adichie 2017, the philosophy of community policing is for citizens and police to share responsibility for their community's safety. It means that citizens and the police will work collectively to identify problems, propose solutions, implement action, and evaluate the results in the community. It employs creative management styles so as to engage responsible members of the public in proactive problem solving tactics to minimize the level of criminal activities and facilitate law enforcement in the communities. The core elements of community policing are as follows. I think since you are going to have the soft copy later and also the hard copy, I will, because of time constraint, I will jump this aspect so that we move forward, so that we will not take much of our own time there. But I will take it from here. There must be a partnership between the police and the communities in determining or identifying local problems and needs and developing solutions to identify problems. The police and the local communities must partner together to identify problems and at the same time how to solve them. The next, we are moving to very important aspect of community policing as it is practiced today in Nigeria. It took us a long time before we could develop what I am about to give you. We have already given you these things before because we have a booklet that we distributed. I don't know how many of you, the police officers, have seen it. I can see only about 2 hands, 3. You know, it means the bulk of you, 4, the bulk of you are not even aware of what community policing is all about. That is why you need to, whenever there is a new system. Community policing today in Nigeria is a federal government policy. It is not a police policy. It is a federal government policy, a strategy to control crime. So it's not an innovative thing that the police brought. It is the federal government initiative that the police are implementing. So pay more attention to it because time to time, as you even grow, as you go on, you are going to come across it and you must practice it. You must practice it because it is a policy of the federal government. I will also look at, we have 5 levels of community policing committees. I will look at the first, and then I will go to the last because of time constraint. You will also read it. The essence, why I prepared all this and put it in, is because I want you to read it and understand what it is, so that you will be able to practice it. The first community policing committee is the Community Policing Advisory Committee. It's the highest. This committee is co-chaired by the chairman of the Traditional Rulers Council and the Commissioner of Police in the state. It is the highest advisory committee that also reports to the governor of the state. Now, in Lagos State, who is the chairman of the Council of Traditional Rulers? Can anybody help me? Oba of Lagos, isn't it? So he will chair the committee together with the Commissioner of Police. Other members of this committee, they are made up of this: the paramount traditional ruler and the Commissioner of Police has co-chair of the committee. Heads of security agencies in the state, all heads of security agencies are part and parcel of this committee at the highest level of the state. One representative from each of the 3 senatorial districts in the state, one representative each from Christian Association of Nigeria and Nigerian Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs. Also members. Then representative of Police Community Relations Committee. These are not the only members. What I want to say here is that the Commissioner of Police, who is a co-chairman, they could come up with other members they feel they are very, very necessary in this top level of the Community Policing Committee. From here, we have other committees. Like I said, I will just read them, but I will not go to explain them. We have the State Community Policing Committee. By the time you get the paper, you'll be able to see what are their duties and who are the members. And then we have Area Command Community Policing Advisory Committee. This is at the area command level. When you have the paper, you will see those who are members and what they do. Then we also have Local Government Community Policing Advisory Committee. They are at the local government level. That's the 4th one. That's why I told you that the communities, I see them as the industry that produces the product. And that product is the criminals that turns out to disturb the community. So they will be in a better position to control these criminals. The special constables will work with the community policing committees as foot soldiers to keep the peace, promote safety and security awareness, gather intelligence, fight social vices, and settle civil disputes and petty crimes. They are not limited to this. They are not limited to this. When it is fully operational and with enough men, you will find out that you find them in the markets, you find them in the business stores, you find them in the hospitals. All what they are doing, they are providing security for the people, their own community. But there is something I want to add here about this special constable. The special constable ceased to exist as a special constable once he leaves his own community. All the committees have been inaugurated by the state governors and commissioners of police in the states. in the implementation of community policing as laid out by the Police Act 2020, there are two very important bodies, namely community policing committees and the special constabulary, which is referred to as community policing officer. Over time, in our nation, the police have come to represent one distant government institution that many like to hate. This has no doubt hampered the effectiveness and the perceptions of the institution. However, in order to promote transparency and accountability, to restore public confidence, the community policing committees have been established as permanent body to liaise with the police formations in every community across the nation. When properly implemented, there is no iota of doubt that with proper resourcing of the operations of Nigerian police force and its professionalization by the government, crimes and criminalities will be checked, reduced to barest minimum, and controlled. A lot is expected of the police if the public trust and confidence are to be earned. This is where organizational transformation becomes key. There is a lot we are doing within the police to win the hearts and minds of our compatriots. Training and retrainings are being organized by the police, CSOs, international organizations, agencies, etc., towards reorientation of officers and men of the force. This training had already started, but it is still at the national level so that people will be trained, then it will now trickle down to meet every policeman at the grass level. So the training is ongoing by the assistance of some international organizations. The force has opened its door through the police community committees at all its command levels to every known stakeholder in our communities. We are desirous of your inputs for a better output and outcome, a safer and crime-free society. In addition, the special constable is another way to tell the communities that we have nothing to hide, as we are ready to jointly operate even with all informal policing bodies that are ready to play by the rule. Nigerians are expected to reciprocate and come on board for the sake of a saner society. Our officers and men need your outstanding and encouragement in the course of their very challenging service to the communities.
2.
Do I remain here to take them?
1. 3, 4, 5.
Sir, my question is just simple.
We would like to know you.
My name is Superintendent Mike Irofola.
Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. During the course of your lecture, sir, you did mention that the special constables, for instance, in Community A, cannot exist in that capacity in Community B. And their responsibility is information gathering, dictation of crime incidents, and so on. But we know that most criminals can operate in Community A and they move to Community B and they are seen as innocent. But those constables in Community A knows him as a criminal. And when he does the crime, he goes to Community B and he's safe. So how do you think, sir, that this criminal can be arranged for the crime he commits in Community A?
Morning, sir. My name is Lieutenant Commander Alex Njoka, sir. So my question basically is, from the lecture so far, I was able to gather that community policing is a way of interacting with members of the public in order to give the police information, intelligence of criminal or criminalities around the general area. Yes, sir. So if request to know the distinct difference between community policing and the state police that is gradually coming up through Amakwetu. Let's know the clear differences. Are members of the public generally the ones to give police information, or members of PCRC? How are they generally collected to know that, okay, people are our informants and we understand with them? And how will that not come in conflict with Amakwetu people, sir? That's my question, sir.
All over the world, it has been recognized that community policing is the best way to solve problems within. These three have been identified as the most tactical elements of community policing. The first one is positive interaction. The second one is partnerships. And the third one is problem solving. Sir, in a community that is full of miscreants. Miscreants. When you have the Bale or the chief in that community selling drugs, Indian hemps, the wife sells ogogoro, and their children are cultists fighting in the community every day. These are the people we rely on, and they are the leaders, causing these problems. You see cultists, the rival groups, fighting every week. Let me cite an instance. Obantoko environment in Abeokuta. There is a junction called Shomori Junction. We have these Okada guys. If they fight this Saturday, next week, other group will come to revenge. And in doing so, they kill themselves. And when you see these guys, they are children of Bale this, Bale that, chief this, chief that. You cannot tell them to leave the community. We depend on the police. Even the police we depend on. Once you are identified as a policeman, you have a problem in that community. You'll be forced to leave the community. Otherwise, they will go to an extent of doing something, not other palatable.
Sir, as we have seen that community policing is a solution, how do we ensure that it works? Thank you very much.
My name is CSP Kinsler Emeka. So my question goes like this. I want to know, in terms of this special constabularies, where they have been posted to in their community, does it mean that they will not be posted out of that community in terms of transfer, based on the fact that they are being promoted to the next left rank? And secondly, sir, their level of promotion, I want to know of which level will they get to this service before they will retire. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, sir. My name's SP Emmanuel Jamiu is my name. Sir, in the course of your lecture, you made mention of the problem that happened to Nigerians as a result of the NSAS problem. And we were able to trace it to some group of individuals from Ughelli Axis. That was where the fake information came about. This is not the first forum I'm hearing somebody orchestrated that problem. I don't know whether within your management, whether those people that orchestrated that action that led to wanton destruction of lives and property, what have been done to them? That is what I want to know as part of my question, sir. Thank you.
Community policing does not provide employment. Does not provide employment. And the special constables are not employed by government. It is a voluntary service to the community where you live. It is a voluntary service to the community where you live. And that is why they are posted back to their very community where they are taken from. So, back to your question. Committing an offense in community B and running to A, and since the members of special constable in community B cannot go to A to operate. Remember, I told you that the membership of Divisional Community Policing Committee, that the DPO is a member of this committee. And therefore, the DPO can receive all the necessary information in order to arrest crime from other areas. Even if the community policing membership cannot send special constable to go there and effect arrest, all they need to do is to let the DPO know. Remember, part of their duties is to gather intelligence, to gather information for the local police in the area, so they can easily tell the DPO who is a member of the Divisional Community Policing Committee that this is what happened. We received this information or intelligence, this and that. And that we also know that the people have run to community A. The DPO has the right, because it could still be under his jurisdiction. Even if it is not, he can send his police officers to that community with a letter to the DPO of that place, and the arrest of those people will be effected and brought back to the community. So it doesn't matter whether they run away, they can still be arrested. That's why the DPO is there. That's why also we have a command community policing officers. They are also there. They work together with these committees. So there is no running away from the law. When you run to the other side, you can still be arrested. Remember also, the special constable are not operating independent of the police. They are not operating independent of the police. Once you get all these things, you know that there will be no space for the criminal. Then the second question, the difference of the state police and the Nigerian police. I think Nigerian police or community policing, policing constables. What are they doing? For example, Ametekum and the police. Are they working together or they are serving as state police? I want to state this. Presently in Nigeria, we don't have state police. Presently in Nigeria, we don't have state police because it is a constitutional matter. It is a constitutional matter. What we see Ametekum, we see them like the vigilantes. We see them as vigilantes who are providing security, who are also working together with the police to provide security for their communities. But they are not a state police. Presently, we don't have, it doesn't matter that they perform similar duties as our conventional police, federal police, but they are not state police. There are certain things they cannot do. There are certain things they cannot do. So the thing is that from yesterday and in other forums that we have attended, the Nigerian police and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria remains the #1 internal security operator. For now, it remains like that. Every other person that is involved, in security, internal security matters is assisting the police. Is assisting the police. They are not operating independently, no. And I believe that we have members of Ametekun here. I believe that in their day-to-day activities, they liaise with the police, they work together, they do things together. Maybe there are certain areas where the police may not reach. They can easily reach there. They can easily reach there. But the purpose is that we are all serving the community. We are all serving the community. All we need to do for all these various, whether you call them Ametekun or you call them forest guards in the east, or you call them whatever name you give them, they are part of the community. And as far as I am concerned, they are not operating independent of themselves, working together for the good of our various communities. Then, number 3, is it? We also, the question here is, in community policing, sorry, I was so much in a hurry writing. That is, how do we ensure that the community policing works? How do we ensure that it works? How do we ensure that it works? It is simple. You are already in it. You are already ensuring that it works. What I want to say is this. Many people, when we say that these committees have been inaugurated and they are working by the state governors and then the commissioners of police, some may say, we are not feeling any impact. We are not feeling any impact of their duties. The problem is that, like I said during presentation of my paper, it takes time. It takes time for us to be able to ensure that community policing takes root in our various communities. The person that asked the question says, a society which chooses to wage war against its police must first make peace with its criminals. Another, going by what happened during the End SARS protest, which was characterized by violent attacks on law enforcement agents and police formations, vandalization and looting of public and private assets, are we to conclude that community embraced, that they commonly embrace criminals, that the community commonly embrace criminals, I think, or something like that. There is a mix up there. Now, maybe I will say this. First, the first question I read, that I should give examples of countries where community policing succeeded. The first pronounced place where community policing started was in Japan. That was the first place where the system of community policing started. When it started, the emirs, obas, and chiefs, either they went there personally or they sent people to represent them. But in some aspect, you will hear them say, "We are not aware." I want to tell you the reason. They thought that community policing were going to place this special constable under their care. And we fear that if that is done so that we don't go back to old bad days, we don't want them to be used against even their common people. That's why we come up with the various committees. We want people to participate, the people to run this community policing aspect. That is the reason. So I want to tell you, with time, just like those other people succeeded, we will also succeed. There may be, as time goes on, we may find areas where we have made mistakes or we need to adjust and do this. That we will continue to do until we perfect it. Then the other question on EndSARS protest, which was characterized by violence attack on law enforcement agents and police formation, vandalism and looting of public and private assets. Then the question he's asking is this issue of EndSARS issues which we experience, especially in Lagos. In Lagos, many police officers were killed. Many public and private assets were destroyed. We need to work together. We need to work together with members of the public so that we will be able to solve this kind of problem. And that was how they created the Nigerian police. And that, what happened during colonial periods, people still see the police with that. People tend to spread that the same type of, even if there are some changes that is ongoing, you know, I told you that change is difficult to be seen. though it is a permanent thing in all societies, but before people can be able to see the effect of this change, it takes time. But I want to tell you that people ignore the change that is going on. There are many things that the police authorities, the government are doing for this change. That does not mean we don't have bad eggs. And that I also want us to understand that the Nigerian police are not from the vacuum. They are part and parcel of the society. They are people who have formed all their habits, their whatever you may think of within the society. I want to tell you, bring a member of the society who might have been very vocal and bring him into the police. If you are not very lucky, he will be the worst. Very worst. So it means that the society itself is bad. It means that where the society will see their police is being molested and they are clapping hands and rejoicing. Which type of society is that? Which type of society is that? A society where some people will kill a policeman and then put his body, roast it and start eating. Tell me, which type of society is that? We need to change. We need to change. All of us have to change. And that if we take up this partnership with the Nigerian police, the members of the public own their own police and see them as part of them and work together and provide them all the necessary things. I want to tell you, that thing that happened in Ogele would have been solved by the communities. No, that was not what happened. This is what happened. They will rise up in support of the police. But that was not what happened. They turned their backs away. And therefore, the youth, as usual, who are mostly the people that are involved in various types of crimes, who want to be let free to practice their trade, nobody should disturb them. Took it up. But I know that something had been done. Because even the person that was involved was all over social media to say, no, nobody was killed, I was not dead, I was not killed. And this have gone round when the man spoke over the issue of him being killed. It's just that people just wanted to maybe protest against the police. And that is just it. Because of the various things that maybe some people have against the police. Remember, in my explanation, I said the root of this is right from the colonial period. And what had been happening before have not been forgotten, though some changes are still taking place. but people are not noting the changes that we are going through. That we are all here is as a result of these changes in the Nigerian police. Another thing is that, like I said, the issue of special constable, they are working with us. We have opened our doors for everybody. We are not a cult that people should not know what we do. We want to be a people's police by all means. We want to be a people's police. And that is why we are doing all these things. All what we want, we solicit, like I said earlier, that the members of the public should support us. The members of the public should buy into what we are doing. Let them not see us like what the Bible said, can anything good come out of Nazareth? Let people not see us that, is there anything good that will come out of the police? No. A lot is coming. A lot is being done. For example, when the EndSARS issue here in Lagos, when the police stations were being bombed, this and that, the police were quiet. Nobody reacted. It is not that we cannot react, but we wanted to allow members to vent their anger, and then we will come back together and see reason why we have to work together. It is not that we cannot come out and defend ourselves. This is supposed to be noted by members of the public and praise the police for it. We are talking about paying compensation. Nobody is talking about paying compensation to the police who lost their lives, who lost their property, and what have you. So it takes two to tango. So we must have to come together and work together. Thank you.